Hello again, I am Blunty, and as I speak to you right now in this particular time zone, it is, we'll call it 11 hours and 9 minutes away from becoming a new decade. This decade is ending, we're starting a new one. We're heading into 2020, which is when a new decade starts, and this video is for you to give you a tool so you can just show them this video or draw the diagram I'm about to show you to explain to your dumb friends who who try and correct you. You know, you're sitting there 10 minutes towards midnight on New Year's Eve and you go, "I'll see you next decade." And you do all those jokes because when you're drunk enough, as you should be, drink responsibly, kids, by the way, or don't drink if you're a kid. But when you do get to drinking age, drink responsibly, especially on New Year's. Don't be naughty. So I want to give you a tool to explain to your dumb friends who try and correct you. See you next decade. Well, actually, the decade starts in 2021 because there was no year zero. Using nothing but these common household ingredients. Ingredients? That's the wrong word. Tools is the word I'm looking for. I may have started drinking already. That may have been a mistake. So I'm going to show you how to explain to your dumb friends why the decade starts with the year with a zero on the end of it. So let's go. This is year zero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And for any of these dates, you can, of course, substitute 2000 in front of it. X or 2 to X when we get to there with the 2 digits. So it all makes sense so far, right? This is the span of a decade. We need the zero. I'm going to show you why. Because when you're in the first year of the decade, you are in here, in this gap here. The first year of the decade exists here. This is year 1 of the decade. And of course, this is year 2 of the decade, year 3 of the decade, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So following that logic cross, between 9 and 10 on the end of the year, that's the 10th year of the decade. That makes sense to you? This you're existing in right now, where we are right now, 2019 to 2020, with the 10 digit. I know it says 10, but but when I say 20, you know what I mean. We're living through the 10th decade, the 10th year of this decade, and a decade is, of course, a period of 10 years. 1 year is between the 0 and the 1. Well, by the time you get to the 9, you are in the 10th year. We're about to end the 10th year. When you get to the end of the 10th year, that is the decade. Does it make sense to you now? All you idiots out there, actually it starts in 2021 because there was no year 0 on the calendar. Well, here's another thing about the calendar. The calendar we currently use didn't come into effect, at least in Eastern Europe and the European countries and things like that. The Gregorian calendar, as it were, didn't come into effect until the mid-1500s, 1538 or something. I forget the exact year, but we were well into 1500 years, current era, or after the birth of Christ, if you're a Christian and you want to measure it that way. I don't mind. The zero was part of that calendar when it was implemented. The reason that calendar was implemented is because the previous calendar that we're using, that the Romans are responsible for, they didn't do the math right, and it was out by like 11 minutes every year. So by the time you get to 1500 years in, the seasons were all out of whack with where they should be. And we need a new calendar. And Mr. Gregorian came along and he said, you know what? Here's a new calendar we can use that it won't drift. The seasons will stay where we put them, and it's going to be all fine. And that calendar has zeros in it. That's a decade, from the 0 to the end of the 9. And by the time you get to the 10, that's the start of a new decade, because you'll have finished the 10th year by the time you get to the end of it. Right? That's the 10th year. You're finishing off the decade when you're still in the 9 of the date. Okay? Now, can we all have a lovely, happy new year and a prosperous 2020, etc., etc., etc.? I guess we can end this video by regulars. Let me know what you want to see on the channel coming in the new year. And if you like, you can drop my Twitch channel. We're going to be live streaming for like the 7 hours preceding midnight where I'm. It's starting to 5 a.m. Not 5 a.m. 5 p.m. Australian time. And let me have a look here. I did the math on the things. In sort of London, well, that's my pizza ready. In London, it'll be 6 a.m. New York, it'll be 1 a.m. 10 p.m. No, wait. Los Angeles, 10 p.m. on the 30th. 1 a.m. on the 31st in New York. on the 31st in London, 6 a.m. And you can sort of do the math from then on in. But 5 p.m., 31st, Sydney time, you can do math there. That's where we start. We're going to go for at least 7 hours on the stream as I drink and play games. And I had some Lego arrive today. We could build some Lego and just generally hang out and listen to music and get drunk together. And because I don't go out there on New Year's anymore. It's too much. It's too much. I want to be quiet and just chill with cool peeps and have wonderful conversations about anime and cartoons and what TV we're watching and what we thought of. We can get into the spoilers territory of Star Wars stuff now. Mandalorian and Rise of the Skywalker. It's been a couple of weekends since they sort of finished up. We can start talking about anyway. I'm rambling now. I just wanted to just do this video to give you a diagram so you could show people how dumb they are when they try and correct you about when the decade supposedly starts. 0 is important. There was a very famous, was it the Babylonians? Or there was an Indian mathematician. I forget who invented 0 first as a mathematical concept. But it's a pretty important one. 0 is important. Especially if you're watching me through a computer, which you almost certainly are. 0s are very important for computers as well. I really shouldn't have started drinking this early in the day. Gonna be a fun evening. Woo! 2020! Is it off yet? Is it all good yet? It's all good.